Chapter 5190. All right. Wuxia did not dare to urge him. She only said one word and did not say anything else. Li Zongbao stretched out his hand and held onto Wuxia's small hand. However, he felt that Wuxia's hand was covered in sweat. Clearly, she was extremely worried. Who would have thought that Xiaohua did not look at the 4 crystals? Instead, he turned his head to look at Yaon and said, "You are the Yi clan's patriarch? Spiritual Master Xiao, please spare my life. Spiritual Master Xiao, please spare my life." Yaon saw that Xiaohua had easily killed Emissary Wen. That aura that he found hard to describe was emitted from Emissary Wen's body. He knew that he was definitely not Xiaohua's opponent. He hurriedly knelt down and said, "This was all Emissary Wen's orders. Even if this junior had the guts as big as the sky, he would not dare to provoke. AI, if this old man did not search your soul, I'm afraid that I would have been deceived by you." Xiaohua sighed. He looked at Yan and said, "Moreover, this old man was entrusted by Yi Zhen. I also wanted to protect your Yi clan. However, you were extremely daring. You actually dared to scheme against this old man's Dao companion. Even if you died 10,000 times, it would still not be able to extinguish the anger in this old man's heart." When Yan heard the name Yi Zhen, he was so scared that his soul flew out of his body. He immediately collapsed in midair. Logically speaking, you are merely a 3rd-grade sword transformation realm cultivator. With this old man's status, I should not make things difficult for you. Xiaohua's face was cold. He said in a low voice, "However, with this kind of karma, how could this old man let others do it?" After he finished speaking, Xiaohua did not seem to use any divine ability. Kachacha! A layer of lightning surged out from Yi Yaotian's body. In an instant, Yan was killed. Within the lightning, a human-shaped primordial spirit struggled to fly out. However, the merciless lightning instantly annihilated it. Yi Yaotian's body and soul were destroyed. Xiaohua raised his hand again, and Yi Yaotian's sword pouch fell into his hand. Xiaohua looked at it for a moment, then took out the spirit artifact and stored the sword pouch into his bosom. His eyes were looking at the 4 spirits' blood curse, and his divine sense was probing the spirit artifact. Although they knew that there were reinforcements coming from afar, and they even seemed to have seen Zhenren Shao, who they often saw in their souls, Zhong Haoren, Fei Yunshu, and Zhong Zhan knew that it was just water in the distance that could not quench their thirst. The sword cultivator from the Celestial Patrol City had already flown close to them, and they could no longer see the sun of tomorrow. They looked at each other. Their previously despairing hearts were now filled with hope, and an inexplicable joy surged into their hearts. For Zhenren Shao! A soundless cry came from their hearts. The 3 of them urged their sword lights and Zhenyuan to rush toward the sword cultivator like moths to a flame. They wanted to emit the last bright light before they died. At this critical moment, Feng Wu arrived and released Yuanya and the others. Yuanya stood in midair and immediately saw the danger Zhong Haoren and the others were in. He roared, "Who dares to hurt my Fortune Gate's disciples?" As he spoke, he swung the devil spear in his hand. Swish! There was no surge of devil chi, and the spear's afterimages killed all the sword cultivators in front of Zhong Haoren and the others. Yuanya did not say anything. He waved his hand and pulled the 3 of them up into the sky. As for the other Celestial Patrol City's sword cultivator disciples, they paused for a moment when Yuanya made his move. Then, they rushed toward the Fortune Gate's disciples who were fighting with the Void Heaven Sword School in the south. They knew they were no match for Yuanya, so they didn't even bother to look. Yuanya arrogantly swept his gaze over these ant-like sword cultivators. He disdained to make a move. Zhong Haoren and the others were still in a state of shock. They looked at Yuanya and the Feng Wu in confusion. Zhong Haoren was about to say something when Feng Wu's eyes flashed with joy. He exclaimed, "Oh my, there's actually something good." But before he could finish, Feng Wu's figure disappeared in a flicker. Senior. With Feng Wu gone, the pressure in the sky was greatly reduced. Zhong Haoren's mouth was dry. He looked at Yuanya, Xiang Zhili, and the others, then saluted Yuanya. "Junior thanks Senior for saving my life. May I know if Senior..." Zhong Zhan was the most alert. He had heard Yuan Ye's shout at the critical moment. When he saw Zhong Haoren saluting Yuan Ye, he bowed to Xiang Zhili and the others. Junior Zhongzhan thanks Senior for saving my life. May I ask if Senior is also a Fortune Gate's disciple? Yuan Ye ignored Zhong Haoren. It was not that he looked down on Zhong Haoren, but he did not understand the situation on the Dawn Rain mainland and was unwilling to speak. At this time, Xiang Zhili looked regretful as he said to Zhongzhan, "AI, it's a pity that I'm not a Fortune Gate's disciple." Then, Zhongzhan was stunned and turned to look at Yuan Ye in confusion. At this time, Xiang Zhili's drawling voice sounded again, "I want to enter the Fortune Gate, but foster father said that there is no need for me to enter. The Fortune Gate belongs to him, which means it belongs to me, ah?" Zhongzhan was shocked. He looked at Xiang Zhili again, and a bad feeling rose in his heart. Don't listen to his nonsense. Yuan Ye couldn't help but say, "Sect Master has said that the Fortune Gate belongs to all Fortune Gate's disciples." Yuan Ye suddenly raised his head and looked at the east side of the Sky Patrol City. A sharp sword light was rushing towards them like a meteor. The sword light's momentum seemed to be able to tear the sky apart. His name is Xiang Zhili, a disciple of the lightning-controlling sect's Thousand Lightning Valley. He is also Taoist Zhao's foster son. You can ask him if you have any questions. As Yuan Ye said this, his figure flickered, and a brilliant light surged around him. In just a moment, his fierce demonic aura blocked the sword light. "Xiang Zhili? You're Xiang Zhili?" Zhong Haoren was even more shocked. He looked at Xiang Zhili and said, "What's wrong? Haven't you seen such a young nascent soul realm senior?" Xiang Zhili asked with a smile, "Why aren't you coming over to greet him?" Yes. Zhong Haoren, Zhongzhan, and Fei Yunshu were overjoyed. They hurriedly tidied up their blood-stained robes and prepared to greet Xiang Zhili. Xiang Zhili was obviously joking with them. Seeing that the three of them were serious, he hurriedly waved his hand to support them. He smiled and said, "Don't. I'm just joking with you. You are my Fortune Gate's great heroes. It's more appropriate for me to greet you. If you greet me, won't Godfather scold me?" Xiang Zhili quickly took out some medicinal pills and handed them to the three of them. He said, "These are the medicinal pills bestowed by Godfather. Quickly take them." Yes. Zhong Haoren and the others were so happy that their eyes were wet. They hurriedly swallowed the medicinal pills. Wu Qing looked at Zhongzhan's broken arm and said indifferently, "We don't dare to touch your injuries. When the battle is over, we'll ask the Bear Palm Gate and the others. Their medicinal pills are the most suitable. At the very least, we'll ask Senior Brother Xiao to help." Bear Palm Gate? Senior Brother Xiao? Fei Yunshu looked at the young man with unfathomable strength in front of him. "So, it's Senior Wu Qing?" Zhongzhan was pleasantly surprised. He hurriedly bowed and said, "Junior has long heard of Senior's name, but I didn't expect to meet you today. You are a Fortune Gate's great hero, there's no need to be so polite." Wu Qing's expression remained unchanged as he helped Zhongzhan up. Since they knew that one of the two cultivators in front of them was Xiang Zhili and the other was Wu Qing, Cui Yingying's identity was obvious. Zhong Haoren and Fei Yunshu hurriedly saluted Cui Yingying. "Get up." Cui Yingying's voice was still shy, and her face was flushed red. She helped the two of them up, then took out a jade bottle and handed it to Zhongzhan. "This is a medicinal pill given to me by Gate Master Li Xiang. He said it's for Fortune Gate's disciples to treat external injuries. Try it. This is Senior's medicinal pill. Junior doesn't dare to take it." Zhongzhan hurriedly waved his hand to decline. "Quickly take it," Cui Yingying said in a low voice. "Your injuries are very serious, and we don't know when this battle will end. Don't damage your Dao Foundation." "Many thanks, Senior." Zhongzhan thought for a moment, then bowed. The Fortune Gate's medicinal pills were naturally created by the heavens and earth. After Zhongzhan took the medicinal pill, his severed arm began to grow, and his palm was slowly forming. "Zhong Haoren?" Xiang Zhili squinted his eyes as he looked at the sword qi in the distance. It was hard to tell whether he was mocking or envious as he said, "You're really something. A Fortune Gate summoning order actually caused such a huge battle." Zhong Haoren was a little frightened, and he bit his lip as he said, "This matter is far from what Senior thinks. Junior and the others have also fallen into someone else's trap." "Oh?" Xiang Zhili asked curiously, "What's going on?" Zhong Haoren was about to speak when Wu Qing interrupted, "Let's talk as we walk. The battle over there is in full swing, we can't just stand by and watch, right?" Cui Yingying's eyes were sharp, and she saw an intermediate gold core cultivator in a critical situation. She hurriedly pointed at him and said, "That cultivator is in danger, I'll go and rescue him." Zhong Zhan's gaze swept over, and he said coldly, "That's Wu Cheng from the Intelligent Pavilion. He seemed to be the one who led the escape." Xiang Zhili snorted, "This young master hates those who run away from battle the most. Junior sister, don't bother with him. It's better if he dies." "Yes, eldest senior brother." Although Cui Yingying couldn't bear to see him die, she still listened to Xiang Zhili and didn't move. Zhong Haoren said in a low voice, "Actually, the situation was critical at that time, martial uncle." Fei Yunshu hurriedly reminded, "When Wu Cheng escaped, the sword cultivators who surrounded him had yet to appear." "Okay." Zhong Haoren was a little dejected, but he asked again, "Senior, what's the deal with the Bear Palm Gate and Gate Master Li Xiang that you mentioned earlier?" "Of course these two are the Gate Masters of the Fortune Gate," Xiang Zhili said with a smile, but he had just said a few words when he became impatient again. He turned to Cui Yingying and said, "Junior sister, Li Xiang taught you a lot of cultivation techniques, so you must be familiar with the Fortune Gate. Why don't you tell me?" P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Thanks to Benbin, Xiaohua, Dongfang Yushan, Honghua, Chen Fangoyang, Wuqing, Aluan, Jeshin, Li Xiao 777, Little Duan Demonis, Daoist Xiao, Little Jian, Theblisky 1, Kai Gue Hun, Favorite Tanhua, Divinity Cultivation Fan, Guff 8547985, and so on. Today, I'll add more chapters for you, but some of the names are not fully accounted for, so I hope everyone can understand. Also, if there are no accidents, today is the last time I'll update 10 times in a row before the finale. I hope everyone likes it and cherishes it. Chapter 5191. Yes, eldest senior brother. Cui Yingying responded as usual and slowly told him what she knew about the Fortune Gate. Zhong Haoren, Fei Yunshu, and Zhong Zhan listened attentively and flew to the battlefield under the protection of the three nascent soul masters. Zhong Haoren and the others were naturally saved from death's door. On top of the Sky Patrol City, the quilted mountain sex Xue Cheng was dumbfounded. He did not panic when he saw the Fortune Gate's Sky Patrol City's sword formation being defeated. He only looked into the distance and wanted to know what other tricks the Fortune Gate had up their sleeves. However, when he saw the sword Qi, he was overjoyed. Before he could send out the signal to attack, Yigu Xing sent him a message. After reading the message, Xue Cheng understood that the sword cultivator who came from afar might not be the reinforcements. Moreover, he also understood something in an instant. However, before he could fly to Yiguxing for a discussion, Yiguxing's second message arrived. The message clearly stated that even if the sword cultivators besieging the Fortune Gate were enemies and not friends, they were still sword cultivators from the Huan country. The three swords gates guarding the Sky Patrol City had already lost the initiative by not knowing that the Fortune Gate was besieging the Fortune Gate. Their current plan was to kill the Fortune Gate's disciples first and let the incoming sword cultivators face the Sky Patrol City directly. Therefore, the bloodthirsty Xue Cheng did not hesitate and released almost all the sword and beast cultivators. When he saw the Fortune Gate's disciples fleeing in panic and Zhong Haoren, Fei Yunshu, and Zhong Zhan dying, a trace of excitement appeared in his heart. However, this excitement was instantly erased by Xiaohua's divine sense and the thunderous battle prowess of the Fortune Gate's disciples. When Feng Wu appeared and Yuan Ye killed hundreds of sword cultivators, he was completely stunned. Before Feng Wu could fly away, he had already left the Sky Patrol City's south gate and flew to the east gate. What a joke! Not to mention the demon clan that was as vast as the stars, even the sword formation of the Sky Patrol City could not withstand the power of the spear from the Taoist cultivator who held the Devil Spear. What was the use of staying at the South Gate? Gu Jianyu. Before he reached the Sky Patrol City's East Gate, Xueqing shouted, "What's going on?" Almost at the same time, a light broke through the sky from Xueqing's left and Zhuang Hong's voice sounded, "Gu Jianyu, hee." Xueqing sneered. He knew that the West Gate was naturally further away from the East Gate than the South Gate was from the East Gate. Zhuang Hong had arrived right after him. Zhuang Hong had left his post earlier than him. Xueqing focused his gaze and saw that the battle situation at the Sky Patrol City's East Gate was similar to the South Gate. The Mountain Patrol Sword Sect's disciples were the closest to the Sky Patrol City. There were about 100,000 of them, and the ones facing them were the Dawn Rain Continent's Fortune Gate's disciples. After the Dawn Rain Continent's Fortune Gate's disciples, there were some Sword Cultivator and Dao Cultivator's disciples. There were also many of them, about 100,000 of them. However, they did not attack the Dawn Rain Continent's Fortune Gate's disciples. Instead, they turned around and attacked the Dao Cultivator's disciples behind them. The number of Dao Cultivator's disciples that arrived at the end was not many, perhaps 100,000 of them. However, these disciples were the strongest, and the hundreds of thousands of Sword Cultivator and Dao Cultivator's disciples were no match for them. The battle situation was very similar to the battle between the Sky Patrol City and the Fortune Gate's disciples. Zhuang Hong only took a glance and hurriedly said, "Yi Jianyu, there's no need to look anymore. The situation here is similar to the Sky Patrol City's West Gate. I'm here to ask for your advice because I don't understand. What should we do next?" Yi Guxing shook his head slightly and replied, "I don't know either. My Mountain Patrol Sword Gate's disciples have been sent out. Other than the disciples maintaining the sword formation, there's no one else in the Sky Patrol City that can be used. Moreover, the situation is unclear, so we can't participate in the battle personally." Xueqing retracted his gaze and looked at Yi Guxing and Zhuang Hong. He said, "Although I don't know what happened, I know who the enemy is and who the reinforcements are. Quick, tell us." Yi Guxing and Zhuang Hong's eyes lit up and they hurriedly urged him. Xueqing raised his hand and pointed, "The Sword Cultivator's disciples behind them are my Sky Patrol City's reinforcements. The disciples behind them are Fortune Gate's disciples. They are Zhong Haoren's backup." Yi Guxing frowned and asked curiously, "How do you know?" "Because Zhong Haoren, Fei Yunshu, and Zhong Zhan were saved by a Dao cultivator whose strength even I couldn't see through." Xueqing said word by word. That Dao cultivator even said, "Who dares to hurt my Fortune Gate's disciples?" Yi Guxing was shocked. Because the Sky Patrol City's sword array was activated, his divine sense was blocked, so he couldn't see the situation in the south. However, when he heard that there was a Dao cultivator whose strength even Xueqing couldn't see through, he couldn't help but exclaim, "There's such a Dao cultivator? Which sect's sect master is he?" Not only that, Xueqing didn't stop until he was shocked. He continued, "Although I can't see through his strength, I'm sure he's a demonic beast more powerful than that Dao cultivator." Demonic beast? Yi Guxing was stunned. A 9th-grade demonic beast? That's not right. Zhuang Hong was surprised. He raised his hand and pointed at the sword cultivator in the distance and exclaimed, That seems to be Void Heaven Sword School's Qin Jing. Oh, and that's Heavenly Demon Sect's Yang Ji. He seems to be the Earth Spirit Sect's Deputy Sect Master. How could they be reinforcements? Buzz. Just as they were talking, a sharp sword light came from the eastern horizon like a shooting star. Before the sword light arrived, the sword will arrived first. The sword cultivators near Sky Patrol City all heard the sound of swords humming. Senior Spirit Sword? Yi Guxing was very sensitive to the sword intent and couldn't help but exclaim in ecstasy. Unfortunately, before he could finish his words, boom! A black shadow streaked across the sky and blocked the sword light with a terrifying aura. It's him! Xueqing exclaimed, "This is the Dao cultivator whose strength I don't know." Yi Guxing and Zhuang Hong looked at each other, their eyes full of fear. How could they measure the strength of a Tao cultivator who could block Senior Spirit Sword? What about the divine sword like divine thought just now? Xue Qing thought of something and asked again. It seems that the divine thought fell to the north of the Sky Patrol City. What divine sword divine thought? Not only Yi Guxing, but Zhuang Hong was also stunned and asked curiously. Xue Cheng's heart thumped and he hurriedly explained, just now, after all the sword cultivators in the Sky Patrol City set out, about half a cup of tea's time, but at this point, Xue Qing shut up again. How could the two sword cultivators not know when such a terrifying divine thought was released? Unless the person did not want them to know. Xue Qing suddenly realized that the reason why he detected the divine thought was because Zhong Haoren and the other two were at the south of the Sky Patrol City. The Fortune Gate disciples had retreated to the east and west of the city, so the person controlled the range of the divine thought. Naturally, Yi Guxing and Zhuang Hong could not have detected it. Moreover, the person came at lightning speed. At that time, the entire Sky Patrol City was surrounded by lightning, so the two of them could not see the person's whereabouts. The north of the Sky Patrol City. Xue Qing hurriedly pointed to the north of the Sky Patrol City and shouted, "The divine thought fell there." Yixixiang. Yi Guxing shouted and rushed to the north gate of the Sky Patrol City without caring about anything else. Zhuang Hong and Xue Qing did not dare to delay and followed behind with doubts. When they hurried to the west gate of the Sky Patrol City, they saw the 4 huge crystals and the strange phenomenon imprisoned in the sky. They were dumbfounded again. They did not expect that there would be such a magical formation in this world that they could not detect it even though it was so close. When the 3 sword masters of the Sky Patrol City arrived, Xiaohua raised his eyebrows. Xiaohua confidently said to Feng Wu and Huang Tong, who had eaten Immortal Envoy when Xian's tiger-shaped silver tiger, "Fellow Taoists, please protect Senior Brother Li and the others and retreat. I already know what to do." Fellow Taoist Xiao. Huang Tong waved her claws and protected Li Zongbao and the others. She flew to the side and reminded, "You have to be careful. This formation is very strange. I can smell the aura of the Demon League from it. Thank you for your reminder." Xiaohua nodded and said, "I have already detected it. This formation is mysterious and its fluctuations are restrained. It seems to be set up on the Dawn Rain continent, but part of it is hidden in the void. Moreover, this formation does not involve the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It only controls the bloodline. There are even traces of a soul formation. If I did not search your soul and did not understand the power of bloodline, I am afraid I would not dare to act rashly. If you have a plan, you can do it." Feng Wu did not fly far away. Instead, she landed on the other side of the 4 spirits' blood curse and said faintly, "If you need I to do it, just let me know." Xiaohua smiled slightly and raised his hand. The sword gourd that had killed Yu Tong flew out again and landed in the center of the 4 spirits' blood curse. With the incantation, a spirit-slaying light fell from the sky and nailed the center of the bloody light. The moment the 4 spirits' blood curse was nailed, there was a huge rumbling sound again. The 4 seemingly light crystal-like objects suddenly became heavy. An indescribable aura was emitted from the crystals. Countless gorgeous lights and shadows were also emitted from the crystals. The void shook, and the 4 spirits' blood curse slowly fell from the void into the Dawn Rain continent. Waves more violent than the waves spread in all directions. Wherever the waves passed, the earth and mountains shook. Among the cultivators and sword cultivators who were fighting, those with shallow strength could not even stand in midair. One by one, they fell down like gravel. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, reward, and thank you for all forms of support. Thanks to Benbin, Xiaohua, Dongfang Yushan, Honghua, Chenfeng Ouyang, Wu Qing, Aluan, Jeshan, Li Shao 777, Little Duan Demonis, Taoist Xiao, Little Jian, The Blue Sky 1, Kai Gue Hun, Favorite Tanhua, Loyal Fan of Divine Cultivation, GUF 8547985, and other rewards. Today, I will update for you. Some of the names of the people were not fully counted, so I hope everyone can understand. In addition, if nothing unexpected happens, today will be the last update before the finale of Divine Cultivation. I hope everyone likes it and cherish it. Chapter 5192. Ka. The sword array closest to the 4-spirit blood curse was naturally the Skyguard City's sword array. Under the 4-spirit blood curse's aura, the sword array immediately cracked and collapsed like a fragile ice cube. Damn it! Yi Guxing and the others cursed. They hurriedly wanted to reinforce the sword formation, but before they could do so, the sword light of the sword formation was suddenly annihilated and the sword formation turned into nothingness. At the same time, above the 4-spirits blood curse, the lightning in the sky reappeared and an indescribable confinement of heaven and earth gradually formed around the lightning. Xiaohua's figure stood in the middle of this strange phenomenon with a strange expression on his face. He thought to himself, "Oh my, no wonder the 4-spirits blood curse used by the immortals in the immortal world to condense the 4 sacred spiritual bodies has such a strange phenomenon even before it is activated. This kind of formation based on the immortal formation should not exist in the Dawn Rain continent." However, to Fairy Hongxia and the others, this immortal formation is a great calamity, but at the same time, it is also a great opportunity. I originally wanted to let Fairy Hongxia use the Phoenix bloodline when I saw her, but now it seems that without my help, she will only be able to use it after 1,000 years. Putting aside the fact that Xiaohua had waited for the 4-spirit blood curse to completely escape from the void before he took action to break the array, the Dawn Rain continent's aura alone was so vast that not only did it obliterate the Sky Patrol City's sword array, but it also spread to the surroundings of the Sky Patrol City. Wherever the aura passed, there would be explosive sounds and the heaven and earth would shake unceasingly. In particular, under the 4-spirits blood curse, the 4 huge abysses that previously hid the 4-spirits celestial bodies were now exuding a faint black gas. The black gas did not rush out of the ground, but entangled on the surface like spiritual snakes. Within the abysses, more faint black gas spread rapidly in the direction of the sword tomb along with the aura and fluctuations of the blood curse. As for the depths of the sword tomb, there was an inexplicable space that was shrouded by the faint black gas. On the surface of the space, countless black gas were like countless tentacles that reached into the earth and covered thousands of miles. The black gas of Sky Patrol City was just a few wisps of this black gas. The huge fluctuations had weakened by the time they reached the space, but the fluctuations still shook the black gas like seaweed swaying in the silent undercurrents of the sea. As the ripples spread into the space, a somewhat obscure voice sounded from deep within the space. Immediately, the black chi in the entire space began to ripple, forming numerous tiny whirlpools all over the place. The black chi fell into the whirlpools and slowly disappeared. Tiny ripples were formed in the space. Following the ripples, a human-shaped figure that was dozens of feet in size was revealed. In the beginning, the outline was just a few lines. The thickness of the lines was uneven, but they were all pitch black as if they were drawn with ink. As for the vortexes, they were all over the 2 ends of the lines. After a while, sizzling sounds came from these lines. The pitch-black lines on the lines were like drops of ink dripping into clear water. They began to spread within the outline, and a faint human body appeared as if ink had been splashed onto it. It seemed very slow, but in fact, it was extremely fast. A faint human figure seemed to have crossed the void and appeared in the space. The human figure's body was covered in black chi, and his face could not be seen. As the black chi took shape, it gradually condensed on the surface of the human figure, turning into a pitch-black Confucian robe and a Confucian crown. The little thing from the immortal world has really made a move. The voice sounded very hoarse, but it was obviously the language of a Confucian cultivator from the hidden immortal continent. Following this voice, a Confucian cultivator wearing a Confucian crown and Confucian robe slowly stood up and looked in the direction of Sky Patrol City. It seems that this old man's plans over the years have not been in vain. Unfortunately, this mortal world is really small, and the strength of the Taoist cultivators is also weak. Even if this old man uses the secret method to condense the essence of all the humans, it won't be of much use. I don't know where that drop of essence blood came from. If I can get some more, that would be wonderful. Forget it, no matter what, this is an opportunity for this old man. After saying that, the Confucian cultivator lifted his leg and stepped out of the space. Then, his whole body began to distort, turning into a light shadow that flew towards Sky Patrol City. As for the space behind the Confucian cultivator, it was once again filled with black qi. This Confucian cultivator was naturally the body that was shrouded in black and blood when Xiaohua was undergoing his lightning tribulation in the Sword Tomb. That body had not moved for many years and had not changed at all. Why would there be such a big change in less than 1,000 years? It was probably related to some of the blood that dripped down from Xiaohua's lightning tribulation. Of course, Xiaohua did not know that a life and death enemy had suddenly appeared in the depths of the earth. At this time, he was waiting for the Four Spirits' blood curse to completely stabilize. Xiaohua did not know, but the Void Heaven Sword School's Qin Jing and the Earth Spirit Sect's Vice Sect Master Yang Ji, who were besieging the Dawn Rain Continent's Fortune Gates disciples, were even more clueless. Not only were they clueless, but they were also very annoyed and surprised. Originally, the development of the matter was as they had discussed. They had used the sword formation to hide in the void, avoiding the eyes and ears of Zhong Haoren and the rest of the Dawn Rain Mainland's Fortune Gates disciples. Only after the large group of Fortune Gates disciples had flown past did they emerge from the sword formation. Looking at the Fortune Gates disciples in the distance, it was as if they were watching a fat lamb falling into a trap. When the Dawn Rain Mainland's Fortune Gates disciples launched their attack, they too split into 3 groups, surrounding Zhong Haoren's group from the east, west, and south sides, and launched their own attacks. In the end, when the Dawn Rain Mainland's Fortune Gates disciples realized that they were surrounded and turned around to attack, it was not out of their expectations. On the contrary, when the Mountain Patrol Sword Gate, Soaring Feather Gate, and Quilted Mountain Sect finally came out in full force, Qin Jing and the others' eyes lit up. They did not expect Yi Guxing to have such courage. However, this was not a big deal. Just as Yi Guxing had said, what they wanted was to control the Heavenly Patrol City and the Fortune Gates forces. They would not attack the Heavenly Patrol City. Therefore, everything developed according to Yao Tian, Qin Jing, and the others' plan. Qin Jing and Yang Ji had even ordered the Void Heaven Sword School and Earth Spirit Sect's disciples to surround the Fortune Gates disciples and not kill them. These Fortune Gates disciples were their prey, the foundation for their future expansion. The Fortune Gate disciples' strength was not high, but their aptitude was good. This was the consensus of all sword and Dao cultivators. However, everything changed after the birth of the thunderbolts between heaven and earth. When the lightning appeared behind them, Qin Jing and Yang Ji were stunned at first. After all, the Heaven Patrol City was located in the snow region, where lightning was rare. When they turned their heads to look, they saw lightning covering the land. They immediately realized that something was wrong. However, the Fortune Gate disciples from the Dawn Rain continent had already begun to attack. They could not care less. Other than leaving some disciples to keep watch, the others formed a sword formation and prepared to attack the Fortune Gate disciples from the Dawn Rain continent. They wanted to end the matter with the Fortune Gate disciples as soon as possible so that they could focus on the situation. Their plan was extremely good, but they had underestimated the strength of a true Fortune Gate disciple. After the thunderstorm passed, the Fortune Gate's disciples, led by Xiong Yi and Li Xiang, quickly arrived behind Qin Jing and Yang Ji. Xiaohua's divine sense and figure that flashed by scared the two of them, as well as the sword cultivators and Earth Spirit Sect's disciples, to the point that they almost pissed their pants. The two did not dare to be negligent. They no longer cared about the Fortune Gate disciples from the Dawn Rain continent and turned to face the Real Fortune Gate disciples. After the battle, the two were scared out of their wits. Although the Real Fortune Gate disciples did not appear to be many in number, each of them was equal to 10. Their formations were especially powerful. In just a short while, hundreds of sword cultivators had already fallen. Damn it! Qin Jing cursed as he blocked an attack from a nascent soul cultivator. Just as he was about to attack a Golden Core disciple who had revealed an opening, the Golden Core disciple's figure flickered and disappeared. Another Golden Core disciple faced Qin Jing. Although Qin Jing sent this golden core disciple flying, he did not succeed. He could not help but shout, "Who are you? How dare you surround my Void Heaven Sword School's sword cultivators? I'm a Fortune Gate disciple." The nascent soul cultivator did not hide anything. As he spoke, he waved his hand and the space around Qin Jing was sealed. Qin Jing opened his mouth and a small sword shattered the seal. Qin Jing angrily said, "Were you sent by Zhong Haoren to make fun of us? How can there be a nascent soul master like you in the Fortune Gate?" Who would have thought that the nascent soul cultivator would completely ignore Qin Jing? His figure flickered and he flew several hundred feet away. He waved his hand and saved a Foundation Establishment disciple who was about to be killed by an Earth Spirit Sect disciple. Damn it. Seeing that the nascent soul cultivator had left without any hesitation, Qin Jing cursed angrily. Just as he was about to kill the other golden core disciple, a familiar sound of a sword rang out. Qin Jing hurriedly raised his head and looked over. Wasn't it Zhuaming of the High Wind Sword Sect and Zhualingjian flying over from afar? Great! Qin Jing was overjoyed. However, before he could smile, Yuanya had already blocked in front of Zhuaming's head with his devil spear. Clang! Without giving Zhuaming a chance to speak, Yuanya casually pointed his spear at Zhuaming's left arm that had transformed into a sword. In Qin Jing's eyes, Zhuaming seemed to be trying his best to dodge or even escape. However, no matter how hard Zhuaming tried, he couldn't dodge the spear. Ping! After the golden hum, there was a muffled sound. Qin Jing clearly saw that Zhuaming's left arm had exploded. Zhuaming's figure staggered as he tried to escape. However, he only flew a few hundred feet before Yuanya mysteriously blocked in front of his head. Yuanya's devil weapon was aimed at Zhuaming's forehead, forcing Zhuaming to not even dare to move. Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, gift it, and thanks to Benbin, Xiaohua, Dongfang Yushan, Honghua, Chenfangoyang, Wu Qing, A Luan, Jeshan, Li Xiao 777, Little Duan Demonic Flower, Zhenren Xiao, Little Jian, Theblisky 1, Kai Gue Hun, Favorite Tanhua, Loyal Fan of Divine Cultivation, Guff 8547985, etc. In addition, if there are no accidents, today is the last update before the finale of Divine Cultivation. I hope everyone likes it and cherishes it. Chapter 5193. Qin Jing was terrified as he watched. His body swayed and he almost fell from the sky. Who was Zhuaming? A spiritual sword. How many spiritual swords could there be in the entire Huan country? How could he be injured by an unknown cultivator's spear and forced to surrender? What's going on? Qin Jing was upset and did not know what to do. However, Qin Jing's troubles did not stop there. Just as he was about to find Yang Ji to discuss, he heard a deep voice in the distance. Junior Xianjing leads the Kunlun sect disciples to support Senior. I'm late, please forgive me. What? Did I hear wrongly? Xianjing? Isn't he the sect leader of the Kunlun sect? When did he become a junior? Whose junior is he? Qin Jing was stunned. He stood in the air at a loss and stared blankly at the distant sky above the snowfield. Thousands of Kunlun sect disciples rushed over on flying boats. Wasn't that the sect leader of the Kunlun sect, Xianjing? A light suddenly appeared in Qin Jing's mind. He cried out, "Yes, it's him." That spiritual sense just now, Qin Jing seemed to have seen the truth of the matter. But even if he understood, what was the use? Immediately after, behind Xianjing's Kunlun sect, for terrified voices sounded again. Junior Yang Yu brings the Shanghua sect disciples to support Senior. Please forgive me, Junior Yi Xian of the Xuanyan sect, temporarily acting as the sect leader. Today, I bring the Xuanyan sect disciples to support Senior. Please forgive me, Junior Wu Hongzi of the Qiqiao sect brings the disciples to support Senior in Sky Patrol City. Junior Zhenren Jinghuan is the sect leader of the Huanhua sect. Junior did not manage the sect well and caused trouble for Senior. Today, I bring the disciples to ask for forgiveness. Shanghua sect's sect leader, Zhenren Yangyu. Xuanyan sect's sect leader, Zhenren Yi Xian. Qiqiao sect's sect leader, Wu Hongzi. Huan Hua Sex Jinren Jing Huan? Qin Jing could not believe his ears. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. His face was ashen. A voice roared in his heart, I must have heard wrongly. How could they be here? This is not a sword Dao battle. Moreover, I seem to have heard from Yao Tian that the Vice Alliance Master of the Immortal Alliance, Luo Xing Tian, seems to be making some moves in the state of Shi. The 4 great sects of the state of Shi are all there. However, at this moment, another voice came from the southeast corner in the distance. The various sects of Meng have led their disciples to support Senior. Junior Taoist Yuqing of the Taiqing sect greets Taoist Shao from afar. Changbai sect's Yun Mingzi led his disciples to pay respects to Taoist Master Shao. Reverend Li Feng of the Immortal Ascension sect pays his respects to Reverend Shao. When this voice fell into Qin Jing's ears, it was as if Qin Jing had lost his parents. He stood in midair in a daze. How could he still be in the mood to fight? Seeing Qin Jing's reaction, the Void Heaven Sword School's disciples withdrew their sword qi in fear. They were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered as they stared at the Fortune Gate's disciples, not daring to resist. Then, in another direction, Zhang Qingxiao's voice also sounded. Zhang Qingxiao of the Heavenly Devil sect has led the disciples of the Heavenly Devil 13 sects to reinforce Taoist Master Shao. Oh my God! The Heavenly Devil sect's disciples turned pale with fright. They cried out inwardly, why is sect chief Zhang also here? In the distance, Xiong Yi coldly snorted, you dare to scheme against my Fortune Gate's disciples. In this old man's opinion, you should all be killed. However, my sect master is the most benevolent. He has already said that regardless of whether it is a sword Dao cultivator or a Dao cultivator, they are all human cultivators. As long as you surrender and join my Fortune Gate, you will be spared from death. Why don't you wait here and make your choice? As for the Heavenly Devil sect's disciples, wait here. We are willing to join the Fortune Gate. Before Xiong Yi could finish, a voice shouted. Then, Qin Jing saw the surrounding disciples surrender one after another. A sword Dao battle? The Sky Patrol City's disciples naturally heard that the Shi country and Meng country's sect masters had led their disciples here. They were shocked and did not dare to be negligent. They abandoned the Fortune Gate's disciples and hurriedly retreated to the Sky Patrol City. The Dawn Rain Continent's Fortune Gate's disciples were the most confused. They had just escaped death, and each of them was pleasantly surprised. Looking at the fleeing Sky Patrol City's sword cultivators, the Void Heaven Sword School's disciples who had surrendered, and the unfamiliar Fortune Gate's disciples, they did not know what to do. Hee. Xiang Zhili looked at the Fortune Gate's disciples and laughed. Sect Master Zhong, it's time for you to come out. Sect Master Xiong and Sect Master Li won't have much time to pacify these disciples. Yes, Junior will listen to Senior's instructions. Zhong Haoren, Zhong Zhan, and Fei Yunshu replied. Then, Xiang Zhili led Zhong Haoren to the east side of the Sky Patrol City, Wuqing led Zhong Zhan to the south side, and Cui Yingying led Fei Yunshu to the west side. The myriad Thunder Valley's 3 heroes had just started to move when they heard a thunderous rumble in the sky above the north side of the Sky Patrol City. A 1,000-meter-tall thunder avatar appeared in the bright sun. Xiaohua looked around like a thunder god and said in a loud voice, many thanks for coming to help. The battle between my Fortune Gate and the Sky Patrol City has come to an end. You don't need to get involved. After this Xiao has dealt with the matters here, there are some important matters to discuss with you. Please wait here for a moment. Xiaohua did not release his pressure, nor did he show off his divine ability, but this simple thunder avatar confirmed all the rumors on the Dawn Rain continent. The various sect masters were shocked and hurriedly issued the sect master's order. After ordering their disciples to stop, they bowed in unison and said, yes, Junior understands. After instructing the heads of the various sects, Xiaohua withdrew his Thunder Dharma body and once again entered the 4 spirits' blood curse. He looked at the blood formation that had already stabilized, took a deep breath, and formed a seal with his hands. A bright silver light appeared on his arms, and the celestial art that was similar to Immortal Emissary Wen's had been formed. Kacha. Before Xiaohua's first seal was formed, there were signs of thunder tribulation in the sky. The nearby cultivators' hearts trembled as if they saw the end of the world. Fellow Taoist. Feng Wu could not help but remind, this array is very powerful, don't try to show off. Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes and looked at Fairy Hong Xia's sleeping eyebrows in the ice phoenix crystal. He did not answer, but waved his hands together. Shua. Two phantoms appeared and the nearby void collapsed rapidly. Layers of bright silver light rushed towards the ice phoenix crystal like swimming fish. At this moment, under the four spirits' blood curse, a vague black shadow quietly emerged from an abyss. When he saw the dazzling silver light, he hurriedly retreated. When the black shadow condensed into the figure of a Confucian cultivator in the abyss, the Confucian cultivator secretly frowned again. My goodness, why did an immortal from the immortal realm suddenly appear on the Dawn Rain continent? My strength has not recovered yet, how can I be his opponent? Let's wait and see. Then, the Confucian cultivator's body exploded again, turning into thousands of black gas that surged to the ground. Some fell under the four spirits' blood curse, some seeped into other places, but most of them happily pounced on the place where the previous battle took place, happily absorbing the blood qi and devouring the wandering souls. Xiao Hua was fully focused on saving Fairy Hong Xia and did not notice the abnormality of the black gas. When he saw the bright silver light of the immortal seal touching the ice phoenix crystal, Xiao Hua raised his hand and was about to point at the sword gourd. But when he saw that his right arm had turned bright silver, he hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Taoist Feng Wu, quickly lend me a hand." "No problem." Feng Wu whispered, opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of demonic qi into the sword gourd. The spirit-slaying vital light in the sword gourd shone brightly. Wang wang. In the trembling sound, the spirit-slaying vital light nailed the void and a bloody light reversed back to the ice phoenix crystal. The moment the bloody light touched the crystal, the immortal seal also fell into the ice phoenix dharma body. Shwa! With a soft sound, the crystal melted rapidly and fell into the ice phoenix dharma body and Fairy Hong Xia's bloodline like snow water. TSK. The Confucian cultivator's primordial spirit, hidden in the dark, could not help but make a sound, as if he was extremely envious. This is the essence of thousands of bloodlines that have been purified by the four spirits' blood curse. This little girl seems to have the bloodline of the Phoenix clan and was originally an innate spirit body. After obtaining this bloodline, her blood qi and blood far surpass that of ordinary people. If she had a secret technique to condense essence qi, refining a few primordial spirit doppelgangers would be child's play. What a pity, Io! Suddenly, the Confucian cultivator's primordial spirit was even more shocked. Who is this immortal? He dares to use a forbidden technique? No, he is not an immortal, but a Taoist cultivator who is about to undergo a tribulation. My luck has come. The only thing that could shock the Confucian cultivator's primordial spirit was naturally Xiao Hua's soul technique. Seeing the essence of the bloodline fall into the ice phoenix dharma body and Fairy Hong Xia's body, the ice phoenix dharma body turned blood red and became more transparent. Fairy Hong Xia was also shrouded in a bloody mist. Xiao Hua pondered for a moment, then opened his mouth. Green seal text poured out, and with the chanting of ghosts and gods, thousands of wisps of dark green light fell into the ice phoenix dharma body and Fairy Hong Xia's bloodline. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the bloody mist around Fairy Hong Xia's body entered her body. The ice phoenix dharma body also gradually shrank and finally entered Fairy Hong Xia's bloodline. However, after waiting for a while, Fairy Hong Xia's eyes were still tightly shut, and she did not wake up. Xiao Hua, on the other hand, was very confident. He slowly flew in front of Fairy Hong Xia and lovingly looked at her snowy face, dark eyebrows, and that unchanging red mole at the corner of her mouth. Then, he slowly raised his hand and slowly touched the space between her eyebrows. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it as a reward, and thanks to Benbin, Xiao Hua, Dongfang Yushan, Honghua, Chen Fangliang, Wu Qin, A Luin, Jeshen, Li Shao 777, Little Duan Demonis, Taoist Xiao, Little Jian Jian, The Blue Sky 1, Kai Gue Hun, favorite Tanhua. Loyal fan of divine cultivation. Guff 8547985, and so on. Also, if there are no accidents, today is the last update before the finale of divine cultivation. I hope everyone likes it and cherishes it. Chapter 5194. Oh! Where Xiaohua's finger landed, a strand of hair-like crystal light landed on Fairy Hong Xia's jade-like forehead. Fairy Hong Xia groaned and opened her eyes. Seeing Xiaohua's unforgettable appearance reflected in her starry eyes, a sweet smile appeared on her enchanting lips. Fairy Hong Xia was not surprised at all. She whispered, "Xiaohua, you're back?" With that, Fairy Hong Xia raised her arms and hugged Xiaohua. She pressed her face against Xiaohua's chest and closed her eyes in bliss. Xiaohua's eyes were moist. He already understood that Fairy Hong Xia did not have any change of heart. In the past 1,000 years, she had dreamt of his return more than once. It was as if she imagined hugging him like this every time. So when she suddenly saw him, she thought that it was still a dream. Therefore, she did not have any doubts and hugged him like before. Xiaohua's heart melted. Gentleness was a hero's grave. Facing such gentleness, how could Xiaohua still have any heroic spirit? He could not help but wrap his arms around Fairy Hong Xia, wanting to hug her too. However, his heart skipped a beat. He immediately waved his finger and a boundary appeared to protect his left side. As expected by Xiaohua, Fairy Hong Xia closed her eyes, raised her neck, and kissed his lips again. Xiaohua lowered his head and gently touched the trembling and moist area. He touched the fresh and jade-like lilac. It was just a touch, but the familiar scent, the familiar feeling, the familiar passion, and the familiar action immediately woke Fairy Hong Xia up. She let out a soft cry and opened her eyes. Her phoenix eyes narrowed as she shouted, "Who is it?" Before she could finish her words, Xiaohua covered her mouth again. Xiaohua's voice was a little muffled. "Of course it's your husband." Fairy Hong Xia responded a few times. Her whole body was weak. 2 lines of tears flowed from the corner of her eyes. Lilac also enthusiastically welcomed it. However, in just a moment, Fairy Hong Xia suddenly opened her mouth and fiercely bit Xiaohua's lips. Ouch! Xiaohua might not be in pain, but he still pretended to cry out, "Why did you bite me?" Damn it! Fairy Hong Xia fiercely pinched Xiaohua's armpit again and asked, "For the past 700 years, where have you been hiding? Why can't I find you?" Xiaohua was a little embarrassed. Just as he was about to speak, Fairy Hong Xia suddenly burst into tears again. "Woo!" She threw herself into Xiaohua's arms and cried, "Xiaohua, where the hell did you go? Do you know how much I missed you?" "Don't cry, don't cry." Xiaohua hugged Fairy Hong Xia and stroked her long hair. Smelling the familiar scent, he said, "Isn't your husband back now? In the future, we will never separate again." Woo-woo. Fairy Hong Xia did not reply, she only cried in Xiaohua's embrace. However, in just a moment, Fairy Hong Xia suddenly came to her senses and hurriedly escaped from Xiaohua's embrace. She raised her head and looked around. Unfortunately, the space had already been sealed by Xiaohua. Other than the two of them, Fairy Hong Xia could not see anyone else. Where did this come from? Fairy Hong Xia was baffled. This concubine remembers that we seem to have fallen into Yi Shixiang's ambush? Yes, that's right. Xiaohua nodded. Previously, Yi Shixiang used you as bait to lure the Fortune Gate's disciples to Sky Patrol City. Furthermore, Yutong wanted to use your bloodline as the foundation to forge the 4 sacred spirit body. Then, Fairy Hong Xia was even more puzzled and asked, "What about them? What about Xiao Mao? What about my Kai family's disciples?" "Yutong and Yi Shixiang have already been killed by me," Xiaohua said indifferently. "The Kai family's disciples are also dead. Xiao Mao also fell into the 4 spirits' blood curse like you. At this time, he also has an opportunity. However, he is more troublesome. I will save you first, then save him." Fairy Hong Xia looked at her husband in disbelief and asked curiously, "You can actually kill Yi Shixiang and Yutong?" "Yes." Xiaohua smiled. The current me is not the same as before. You will understand in a while. Fairy Hongxia smiled and pointed at Xiaohua's forehead. Then this concubine will see what divine ability husband has to save Xiao Mao. Divine ability or not, I don't know. Xiaohua said seriously, this husband only knows that without my wife's kiss, this husband will not be able to test out any divine ability. Fairy Hongxia raised her neck and slanted her eyes at Xiaohua. Then she leaned over and lightly kissed Xiaohua's lips. It won't be too late to reward you after you save Xiao Mao. Yes, my wife, I will definitely do my best. Xiaohua smiled happily. With a wave of his hand, he removed the barrier. Fairy Hongxia felt a flash in front of her and 3 huge crystals appeared. Moreover, Feng Wu and Huang Tong were beside them and even Yi Yin and the rest were in the distance. She could not help but be shocked. She exclaimed softly and her face turned red. However, without waiting for her to lower her head, Xiaohua held her soft hand and pointed at where Huang Tong was and said, "Take a look, who is that person?" Fairy Hongxia was a little embarrassed and did not dare to look. In her hurry, she did not see Li Zongbao and Kai Wuxia. At this moment, when she heard Xiaohua's words, she rebuked, "Since you are a cultivator that I know, why did you set up that barrier?" "Hehe, this person can't wait for us to stay in there longer." Xiaohua said with a smile, "Take a look and you will know." "Who is it?" Fairy Hongxia raised her head and looked in that direction. She even said, "Why are you being so secretive?" However, when Fairy Hongxia saw Kai Wuxia, she was stunned. She was even more shocked than when she saw Xiaohua. She hurriedly rubbed her eyes and opened them again. Indeed, the living Kai Wuxia flew over with tears streaming down her face. "Go quickly." Xiaohua let go and said, "That is really Kai Wuxia, but..." Fairy Hongxia did not dare to believe that Kai Wuxia had come back to life. However, her innate kinship pushed her and she flew over without a care for anything else. Hongxia. The familiar voice and the face that was engraved in her memory caused Fairy Hongxia to cry again. "Sister." The 2 sisters hugged each other and cried bitterly. "Wuxia, junior sister." Li Zongbao's voice sounded in their ears. "Junior brother Xiao still has to save the others. Let's go to the side first." Kai Wuxia was already mentally prepared. At this moment, she choked with sobs as she pulled Fairy Hongxia's hand and followed Li Zongbao to Huang Tong's side. Fairy Hongxia naturally did not care about Xiaohua saving people. Instead, she held Kai Wuxia's warm hand and asked, "Sister, I remember you. Your body was already cold at that time. How could you still be alive? Could it be?" Fairy Hongxia looked at Li Zongbao with some envy and said, "Senior brother Li really found an elixir for you? How can there be any elixir in this world?" Kai Wuxia stopped crying and replied, "If not for your husband, even if Zongbao searched for another 1,000 or 10,000 years, I would not be able to live." Him? Xiaohua? Fairy Hongxia was stunned and asked curiously, "How could he have such a divine ability? He is not the original Xiaohua." Kai Wuxia said meaningfully, "He is now Taoist Xiao. The one and only Taoist Xiao in the world. Sister and Zongbao may not understand his divine ability, but you have to remember, Sister was really revived by him. That's not possible, right?" Fairy Hongxia could not believe it and whispered to Kai Wuxia, "If you don't believe me, look." Kai Wuxia looked into the distance and said, "This kind of divine ability, who in the entire Dawn Rain continent can have it?" At this moment, Xiaohua was sending Huang Mingxiang's vermilion bird celestial body into his body. Then he raised his hand and a crystal light flashed from his finger and fell between Huang Mingxiang's eyebrows. Xiaohua seemed to feel something and turned to look at Fairy Hongxia with a smile on his face. He nodded at Fairy Hongxia, telling her not to worry. Unexpectedly, just as Xiaohua turned his face, Huang Mingxiang woke up. He was as enthusiastic and wild as he was at Tianmen Mountain. When Huang Mingxiang saw Xiaohua, he said in ecstasy, "So it's Big Brother Xiao. Thank you so much, you saved me again." As she spoke, Huang Mingxiang stretched out her hand and hugged Xiaohua's neck with her jade arms. Her red lips lightly raised as she kissed Xiaohua's face. Of course, when Huang Mingxiang kissed his cheek, Xiaohua had already noticed that the golden light on his face had blocked Huang Mingxiang's red lips. Unfortunately, Fairy Hong Xia did not release her divine sense, so how could she tell? And Huang Mingxiang's words confirmed Fairy Hong Xia's suspicions. How could she not know that the person in Huang Mingxiang's heart was Xiaohua? And Xiaohua and this Huang Mingxiang had something that she did not know about happened. Of course I believe you. Fairy Hong Xia's heart was filled with an indescribable feeling. She said faintly, I saw it all. Seeing Fairy Hong Xia's expression, Xiaohua knew that things weren't going well. Golden light surged around his body as he slowly pushed Huang Mingxiang away. He said in a low voice, my little grand, can't you stop causing trouble? Huang Mingxiang pouted and looked at Fairy Hong Xia in the distance. Brother Xiao, what trouble did I cause? I like you, is there anything wrong with that? Although Fairy Hong Xia is your Dao companion, you did not hold a dual cultivation ceremony. I still have the possibility of becoming your Dao companion. Besides, even if you two become Dao companions, can't you have another Dao companion? P.S. Fellow Daoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, save it, tip it, thank you for all forms of support. Thanks to Benbin, Xiaohua, Dongfang Yushan, Honghua, Chen Fangoyang, Wu Qing, A Luan, Jeshan, Li Xiao 777, Little Duan Demonis, Daoist Xiao, Little Jian, The Blue Sky 1, Kai Gue Hun, Favorite Tanhua, Loyal Fan of Divine Cultivation, Guff 8547985, etc. Also, if there are no accidents, today is the last update before the finale of Divine Cultivation. I hope everyone likes it and cherishes it. Chapter 5195. While speaking, Huang Mingxiang even winked at Xiaohua with a, you know what I mean. Xiaohua was extremely speechless. That's right. Huang Mingxiang seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said, previously, the young master of the Yi family, Yi Shixiang, even proposed to Fairy Hong Xia, and Fairy Hong Xia almost agreed. If it was me, I would definitely not agree. Yi Shixiang and Yu Tong have already been killed by me. Xiaohua said faintly, there's no need to mention this again. Huang Mingxiang was shocked and hurriedly said, you actually killed them all? My goodness, Brother Xiao, you're actually so powerful now. I'm so happy. Brother Xiao, you're my great hero, I'll only marry you in this life. Xiaohua was really helpless when he heard this. He was extremely regretful now. He wanted to set up a restriction to block Huang Mingxiang's words and everything that happened. However, he also understood that doing this now was just drawing legs on a snake. If Fairy Hong Xia knew about this, it would only add to her troubles. Xiaohua looked at Fairy Hong Xia in the distance and a bitter smile appeared on his face, hoping that Fairy Hong Xia could see it. Unfortunately, Fairy Hong Xia's mouth twitched and turned to whisper to Wuxia as if she couldn't see him. She was obviously angry. Huang Mingxiang. Xiaohua turned to Huang Mingxiang and said, I'll tell you again, Brother Xiao, what do you want to say? Just say it, I'm listening. Huang Mingxiang supported his cheeks with both hands and looked at Xiaohua with watery eyes filled with worship and infatuation. He muttered as if he was sleepwalking. Xiaohua opened his mouth and simply waved his hand. Forget it, I won't say anything. I think you already know what I want to say. Huang Mingxiang nodded his head like a chick pecking rice and replied, Don't worry, Brother Xiao, I'll listen to you. I won't say anything else and will just watch you quietly from the side. Go. Xiaohua waved his hand and sent Huang Mingxiang to Feng Wu's side. Just don't cause trouble for I. Of course, how can I cause trouble for Brother Xiao? Huang Mingxiang was more well-behaved than any other deer. It stood obediently in the air, lowered its voice as if to demonstrate its power, and replied gently. As it spoke, it did not forget to glance at Fairy Hong Xia a few times. At this moment, Xiaohua could no longer care about Huang Mingxiang and Fairy Hong Xia because the 4 crystals of the 4 spirit blood curse were the 4 places where yin and yang were balanced. According to the arrangement of the jade system, the 4 crystals would give birth to the 4 saint spirit body. Right now, Xiaohua's reversal of the 4 saint spiritual bodies was equivalent to reversing the universe. The difficulty was not ordinary. Previously, Xiaohua had used the spirit extermination vital light to freeze the 4 spirits' blood curse. More importantly, he had temporarily maintained the yin-yang formation formed by the 4 crystals, ensuring that Fairy Hongxia, Huang Mengxiang, and Xiao Mao would not be harmed. Now that Xiaohua had rescued Fairy Hongxia, one of the 4 crystals was gone. Although Fairy Hongxia and Huang Mengxiang's side was slightly tilted, they were still able to maintain their balance. When Huang Mengxiang was rescued, half of the 4 spirits' blood curse was gone. At the same time, the blood curse was collapsing rapidly in midair, and at the same time, an indescribable wave of energy was crazily attacking the other 2 crystals. As for the spirit extermination vital light that had pinned down the 4 spirits' blood curse, it was also trembling violently. Pieces of shattered light mixed with the black and white light screen also scattered in all directions. Waves of roar, like the roar of a bull, came from the void. Wherever the light screen passed, the 2 crystals would lose their brilliance as if their colors had faded. The Yun Xiaoying and Yu Shisong that were originally sealed in the crystals also gradually disappeared. Damn it! Xiaohua cursed under his breath and hurriedly raised his hands. His arms, which were already shining with a silver light, instantly expanded and flew across the sky to land on the 2 crystals. Rumble! The moment the silver light appeared, countless lightning bolts came from the sky, from the void, and fell towards Xiaohua. At the same time, an ascending force surged out from Xiaohua's left side like a spring. Not only that, an unparalleled aura that was similar to an oppressive pressure was emitted from Xiaohua's body, rushing in all directions like a tidal wave. Whether it was Fairy Hongxia, Huang Mengxiang, or the rest, they were unable to stand firm in the face of this aura. Their bodies trembled, and fear appeared in their eyes. Go! Huang Tong and Feng Wu looked at each other, and Xiaohua's roar came from the bottom of their hearts. The 2 clones did not dare to delay, and with a wave of their sharp claws, they brought everyone to fly into the distance. Although they flew quickly, they were still not as fast as the immortal spiritual aura. Fairy Hongxia and the rest were like mortals drowning in a river, surrounded by terror. If Fairy Hongxia and the rest were like this, how could the Fortune Gate disciples, Sky Patrol City's sword cultivators, and the disciples of the Cultivation World's 3 great paths be any better? One by one, they could not even summon their true chi and true essence, and fell onto the snowy plains, looking at the godlike Xiaohua in horror. Pooh! Xiaohua controlled the 2 crystals, opened his mouth, and sent a mouthful of true chi into the sword gourd. Woo-woo! The sword gourd let out a trembling sound, and the spirit execution vital light shone brightly. Ka-ka-ka! Waves of cracking sounds came from the void, as if the place where the spirit execution vital light was targeting was unable to support the collapsing 4 spirits' blood curse. Looking at the other side of the collapsing 4 spirits' blood curse, cracks as thick as a child's arm appeared along with the lightning bolts, right at this moment. Seeing the inside of the 4 spirits' blood curse being annihilated, Xiaohua clenched his teeth and secretly shouted in his heart. Borrowing the ascending force of the nearby void, he waved his right hand. Rumble! A huge rumbling sound was produced from the silver tiger crystal. Under Xiaohua's strength, the huge crystal trembled and moved, with Xiaohua's current divine ability, not to mention a crystal, even if it was a mountain, if Xiaohua wanted to move it, he could do it with a wave of his arm. However, this 4 spirits blood curse was created by Yutong with reference to the immortal world's immortal array, and the blood curse claimed to be 1. If Xiaohua wanted to reverse the blood curse to move this crystal, it would be even more difficult than moving a mountain. Moreover, Xiaohua also had to consider the life and death of Xiao Mao and Hamba inside the crystal, so he was even more cautious. Seeing that the crystal had only moved a few zhang, its speed began to slow down again. The 2 crystals produced a suction force, and the other side of the collapsing 4 spirits blood curse gave birth to a strong pushing force, preventing the crystal from moving. Damn it! Xiaohua understood that this was the natural rejection of yin and yang. If he wanted to reverse yin and yang, He had to take out a divine ability that surpassed the laws of this realm. He raised his head to look at the tribulation clouds, then looked at the nearby thunderbolts and immortal spiritual energy, and couldn't help but curse. If I forcefully activate my immortal spiritual energy, I might be able to send this crystal to the other side of the four spirits' blood curse, but the immortal spiritual energy in my body will definitely be activated to an extreme degree, and my ascension will be unavoidable. However, if I don't move the crystal, the entire four spirits' blood curse will be destroyed in a moment, and these two crystals will also be destroyed. Not to mention Xiao Mao and Hanba surviving, even their souls won't be able to enter the cycle of reincarnation. Thinking up to here, Xiao Hua hesitated. After all, there were only Xiao Mao and Hanba inside the crystal, and there were billions of living beings in the 3 continents. This simple comparison was easy for him to make a judgment. Let's activate the lightning escape first. Xiao Hua didn't dare to use the immortal technique again, and while retracting his immortal spiritual energy, he pondered. If the lightning escape doesn't work, then I'll try to put the four spirits' blood curse into the space. Of course, when Xiao Hua released his divine sense earlier, he already knew that the four spirits' blood curse was an independent entity, and he couldn't activate it even if he used the immortal technique. Now, even if he released his divine sense and mind, it wouldn't be easy to put this crystal into the space. Rumble. Xiao Hua's body moved at will, the lightning around his body flourished, and he activated the lightning escape with all his might. He abandoned the flame dragon crystal and placed both his arms on the silver tiger crystal, pushing the crystal towards the other side of the four spirits' blood curse. Amidst the lightning, that seemingly thin body actually became blurry, and the crystal that had already started to slow down accelerated once again. In the end, a multicolored ball of light gradually appeared in front of Xiao Hua's eyes. Xiao Hua was clear in his heart. His lightning escape had activated the light escape, and the crystal in front of him might not be able to stop his light escape. In other words, he might not be able to push the crystal anymore, and he would pass through the crystal and enter the other side of the crystal. Xiao Hua didn't dare to be negligent and hastily retracted his magic power, carefully maintaining the edge of the light escape. After a long time, time seemed to have already become imperceptible at the edge of the light escape. Xiao Hua's arms sank, and the crystal encountered an indestructible barrier, unable to move forward even half an inch. Moreover, an even stronger suction force behind Xiao Hua was like a giant hand of heaven and earth that grasped the crystal, trying its best to snatch the crystal away from Xiao Hua's hands. Xiao Hua understood that this was the most crucial moment. He had already pushed the crystal to the point where yin and yang intersected. The crystal only needed to cross this barrier, and the broken four spirits' blood curse would definitely be balanced again. Not only would Xiao Mao and Hanba's lives be unharmed, they would even be able to absorb the bloodline power within the crystal, which would be extremely beneficial to their cultivation. Rumble. Xiao Hua once again activated his magic power, and where the lightning passed, Xiao Hua's figure disappeared by more than half. Xiao Hua hurriedly emptied his hands, and both his arms entered the crystal. Xiao Hua was greatly alarmed, and hastily retracted his magic power. That disappeared figure reappeared, and both his arms also withdrew from the crystal. What should I do? Xiao Hua was somewhat in a predicament, and he inwardly pondered, previously, if it wasn't for my apprehension that Feng Wu and Huang Tong would trigger the four spirits' blood curse, I should have let them make a move together with me. Thunder Immortal is the most suitable, but he is also sacrificial, refining the 5 elements wishful heaven staff in the space, so there is simply no way for him to get out. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua suddenly had a feeling of coming back from the jaws of death, as if he had realized something. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, cast a monthly vote, cast a recommendation vote, collect a collection, reward, and thank you for all forms of support. Thanks to Benbin, Xiao Hua, Dongfang Yushan, Honghua, Chenfangoyang, Wu Qing, Aluan, Jeshen, Li Xiao 777, Little Duan Demonis, Taoist Xiao, Little Jianjian, The Blue Sky One, Kai Gue Hun, Favorite Tanhua, Loyal Fan of Divine Cultivation, GUF 8547985, and so on. Today I will update for you but some of the names of the people were not completely counted, so I hope everyone can understand. In addition, if there are no accidents, today is the last update before the end of Divine Cultivation. I hope everyone likes it and cherish it. Chapter 5196. Xiaohua cursed in a low voice. Damn it, how could I forget about the soul-punishing vital light? The reason why the 5 elements wishful sky cudgel can be independent and not enter the 5 elements is because of the closure and perfection of the magnetic force. The reason why the 4 spirits blood curse can be integrated should also be because of the innate attribute of the bloodline power. I have already removed the Ice Phoenix and Vermilion Bird bloodlines, and now the 4 spirits blood curse is only left with the Flame Dragon and Silver Tiger bloodlines. It is naturally difficult for me to force the Flame Dragon and Silver Tiger bloodlines to balance the yin and yang of the 4 spirits blood curse. Why don't I go with the flow and divide these 2 crystals into yin and yang, then the balance of the 4 spirits blood curse will naturally be achieved. After pondering for a while, Xiaohua felt that his guess was correct. He hastily called out in his heart, "Fellow Taoist Feng Wu, quickly activate the spirit-slaying vital light and send the yin and yang energies within it into these 2 crystals. Easy." Feng Wu and Huang Tong were already anxious. Now that they heard Xiaohua's order, how could Feng Wu dare to be negligent? After answering, she waved her claws, and the power of the stars and moon fell on the sword gourd. Kacha! The soul-punishing vital light retracted, and the point nailed in the void instantly shattered. Ripples of the void shattered rapidly spread out. Shwa! The soul-punishing vital light fell on the 2 crystals, and the black and white light curtain also fell. The previous color of the 2 crystals instantly disappeared. Xiaohua did not dare to fly away, and only retracted his divine ability. Following the annihilation of the lightning tribulation power, he flew beside the crystals that were beginning to fly backward. He was accumulating power and observing at the same time. Once there was a change, he would immediately attack again. The 2 crystals that had turned into black and white suddenly accelerated, but after reaching a certain extent, their speed began to slow down. Looking at the incomparably chaotic undulations to the left, it was different from what the naked eye could see. When the 2 crystals started to fly, they started to gradually settle down. It was as if Fairy Hongxia's messy thoughts and the knot in her heart were gradually sorted out as Xiaohua activated his supreme divine ability, Good. Xiaohua was overjoyed when he saw that there was a rhythm to the fluctuations. He waited for the 2 crystals to slow down before his hands once again shone with a silvery white brilliance. He formed a series of hand seals and waved his arms as he shouted in a low voice, "Form!" Ka! The celestial art landed in the middle of the 2 crystals, and a void similar to the center of the 4 spirits blood curse appeared in the air. The 2 light curtains above the crystals fell into the void along with the celestial art, and the 2 huge crystals suddenly stopped in the air. An immortal formation called the 2 spirits blood curse was slowly forming. Huff! Xiaohua let out a long breath and jumped out of the formation. He stood in midair and cupped his hands towards Feng Wu. "Thank you for your trouble, fellow Taoist." However, Feng Wu shook his head and said, "Fellow Taoist, don't relax. This blood curse formation is only temporarily stable. If it loses the yin and yang energy of the spirit extermination light, these 2 crystals will still collapse." Xiaohua smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist, don't worry. When I was reversing the 4 spirits blood curse, I was trying. Now that it has temporarily become yin and yang, and the attribute of one of the crystals has changed, and there is no life inside, I don't have to worry too much. I just need to follow the method of the 4 spirits blood curse and make some changes inside." Huang Tong said with some disdain, "Fellow Taoist, you are too careful. In I's opinion, as long as fellow Taoist comes out and uses his 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper, he would have already destroyed this lifeless crystal." Just as Huang Tong finished speaking, the 2 crystals indeed shook again, and the void that had just formed in the middle strangely disappeared. Xiaohua looked at the void that had collapsed again, but the nature of the collapse was completely different from before. He narrowed his eyes and said, "I already know from Yu Tong's memories that Xiao Mao, although he did some things that went against his conscience, he did not owe Fairy Hongxia and I anything. He even sacrificed himself to save Fairy Hongxia, so I cannot do anything that will harm Xiao Mao's life. Not only do you want to save Xiao Mao, you also want to give the blood essence of these tens of thousands of human cultivators to him, right? Huang Tong asked in her heart with some displeasure. Don't forget, what you want to do is more important than saving Xiao Mao. If I don't save one person, how can I save the world? Xiao Hua laughed loudly, and his hand formed the celestial spell again. This celestial spell was exactly the same as Yu Tong's. As the celestial spell entered the silver tiger crystal, the crystal began to shake, and rhythmic waves came from all parts of the crystal. Wherever the waves came from, the crystal would turn into crystal grains, and the grains would turn into blood-red crystal dots, and the surface of these blood-red dots would turn black. Go! The last celestial spell was sent out. This celestial spell did not land on the crystal dots, nor did it land on Xiao Hua himself, but on the fire dragon crystal. As the celestial spell landed on the fire dragon crystal, thousands of whirlpools appeared on the surface of the fire dragon crystal. The whirlpools originally had a white light screen, but now the light screen condensed into rays of white light that shot into the sky, landing on the thousands of blood-red dots. The moment the black and white lights touched, the blood-red dots gave off a blinding light that rushed into the whirlpool of the fire dragon crystal. Who? Suddenly, Xiao Hua's expression changed, and he looked at the ground. He let out a low roar, and his body flew down because he could clearly see that the blood-red dots did not fall into the white light, but instead left the light screen and landed on the ground. Haha! A slightly hoarse voice laughed and said, as expected of a human Grand Ascension stage cultivator, you know how to reverse the 4-spirit blood curse. However, even if you help the cultivator inside the blood crystal, so what? In the end, aren't you still a sacrifice for this old man? This voice appeared abruptly and disappeared quickly. When Xiao Hua landed on the ground, he released his divine sense, but there was nothing abnormal. The 4 huge holes were like 2 pairs of mocking eyes staring at Xiao Hua. Kaka! Huang Tong and Feng Wu's expressions changed greatly, and before they could say anything, they spread their wings and flew to different places. However, only a few breaths later, the 2 avatars flew back, and their eyes were filled with shock. Clearly, they could not believe that they had not discovered anything. How was it? Feng Wu was not as calm as Huang Tong, and seeing Xiao Hua fly out of the abyss with a pale face, she hurriedly asked, "Did you find anything?" Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes, shook his head slightly and said, "I didn't find anything. In addition to some faint demonic qi, there seems to be some sword qi, and more bloodline qi formed by the 4-spirit blood curse." What a pity! Feng Wu looked up at the spirit-slaying vital light that was still nailing the silver tiger crystal, and said, "If there was the spirit-slaying vital light, we might have killed that guy." Huang Tong shook her head and said, "Not necessarily." Boom! Before Huang Tong could finish speaking, in the distant south, thousands of miles away, there was an earth-shaking roar. The sound had weakened a lot by the time it reached here, but the strange fluctuation did not weaken because of the distance. The fluctuation swept across the Sky Patrol City, and a fierce wind was stirred up. After the fierce wind passed, a smoke-like black whirlwind rose from the other side of the snowy plains and pierced through the heavens and the earth. Xiao Hua did not hesitate at all, and his body flashed. He was about to teleport over, but just as he flew out, his body appeared again. He pointed at Fairy Hongxia and shouted to Yuanya in the distance, "Ya, quickly come over and protect Fairy Hongxia." Yuanya shattered Ming's left arm, but did not immediately take Ming's life. He originally wanted to capture Ming and bring him to Xiao Hua, but when he saw Xiao Hua use his great powers to break the 4-spirit blood curse, he stopped in midair. Now that there was a change, and Xiao Hua's expression changed, how could he not know the urgency of the matter? He agreed, and without asking who Fairy Hongxia was, he left Ming and flew in the direction Xiao Hua pointed at. Seeing that Yuanya had left, Xiao Hua was about to fly, but he was still worried. After thinking for a while, he pulled the black bear spirit out of the space. Without waiting for the black bear spirit to bow, he ordered, "Black bear, quickly follow Yuanya, and help me protect Fairy Hongxia." Oh, and Zhang Qingshao and the others, Yuanya knows them? Yes. The black bear spirit did not dare to delay, and hurriedly followed Yuanya. To Xiaohua, several thousand kilometers was nothing more than the blink of an eye. However, before he could break free from his teleportation, boom, boom, boom. Another series of explosions rang out from the east, west, and north. The entire earth shook violently, and several layers of ripples appeared along with several streaks of black chi that soared into the sky, enveloping the snowy plains within several tens of thousands of kilometers. Under the impact of the waves, Xiaohua's body was forced out of the void. Xiaohua escaped from the void, and at a glance, he saw a pillar of black gas not far away. At this time, the black gas had begun to spread wildly in all directions, but Xiaohua could see clearly that in the middle of the black gas, there was a pillar of punishment that was larger than a mountain. Waves of noble chi forcibly tore through the void and rushed into it. An aura that was more majestic than the aura of imperial power gradually emanated from the pillar of punishment. An indescribable bright yellow color turned into threads of light that condensed within the black gas. This is a defensive formation? Xiaohua looked at the pillar of punishment in disbelief, and then looked at the pervading black gas, and could not help but cry out in surprise. The black gas was different from ordinary demonic gas, and did not have too much blood stains. Instead, as the noble chi rushed in, it formed a bright yellow color. This bright yellow color had just begun to take shape, and it was hard to see what it looked like. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, gift, and thank you for all forms of support. Thanks to Benbin, Xiaohua, Dongfang Yushan, Honghua, Chenfengoyang, Wuqing, Aluan, Jeshan, Li Shao 777, Little Duan Demonis, Taoist Xiao, Little Jianjian, The Blue Sky 1, Kai Gue Hun, Favorite Tanhua, Loyal Fan of Divine Cultivation, Guff 8547985, and so on. Also, if there are no accidents, today is the last update before the finale of Divine Cultivation. I hope everyone likes it and cherish it. Chapter 5197. Huang Tong and Feng Wu, who were close to Xiaohua, also came to their senses. Feng Wu exclaimed, "That's right. What that voice just said is the language of the hidden immortal continent's Confucian cultivators. It's different from the Dawn Rain continent." The book Immortal who turned into a demon? Xiaohua suddenly thought of something. An incredible idea came from the bottom of his heart. He cried out involuntarily, could it be that the Heavenly Court's book Immortal who injured Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu actually fell on the Dawn Rain continent? It can't be so coincidental, right? Feng Wu couldn't help but groan. Huang Tong, on the other hand, recovered from the shock and said lightly, so impossible? Su Ji, Fairy Xingyu, and the book Immortal encountered a starburst and fell into the mortal world. Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu were banished to the 3 continents. The 3 continents and the Dawn Rain continent are one, so it's normal for the book Immortal to fall on the Dawn Rain continent. But Xiaohua still wanted to say something, but when the words reached his mouth, he swallowed them back down. Facts spoke louder than words. Who else could have the strength to not be detected by his divine ability and be able to set up such a defensive formation other than the book Immortal that Su Ji spoke of? Asterisk boom boom boom. Asterisk at that moment, there were still rumbling sounds coming from the distance. Pillars of punishment that could not be seen with the naked eye appeared in the black smoke and sealed off the world. The bright yellow pillars that could not be seen clearly before had now taken shape. They were torture tools that looked like axes. These torture tools were strung together like chains with inscriptions. They moved horizontally and vertically, slowly sealing off the sky and the earth. The array is about to be sealed. Huang Tong's eyes flashed with a green light, and she whispered, "If we rush out now, we may have a chance to escape." Feng Wu sneered. "Do you think this is an ordinary array? This is the Immortal Defense Array set up by the Heavenly Court's book Immortal." "That's right." Xiaohua withdrew his gaze from the pillars and the chains and nodded. "This is the book Immortal that even Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu couldn't resist. Even if he was injured, The immortal defense array he set up is not something we can break through at will. Moreover, even if we can break through, can we leave now? AI. Feng Wu sighed heavily. His phoenix eyes looked into the distance, at the dense crowd of Fortune Gate's disciples, as well as many sect chiefs and disciples from the 3 major cultivation countries. He knew very well that Xiaohua would not abandon these humans and leave. The problem is, Huang Tong was confused. Since the book Immortal had already set up the immortal defense array, why did he wait until now to activate it? Why did he set up the immortal defense array here? Xiaohua was in a hurry earlier and didn't have time to transmit the Jade Talisman's memories to Huang Tong and Feng Wu. Now that he heard Huang Tong's words, he transmitted everything he knew to them. Huang Tong instantly understood. He looked at the black gas and then at the crowd. He smiled bitterly and said, "So it's for the blood sacrifice." "Not bad." Xiaohua nodded and said, "The book Immortal was discovered by Fairy Xingyu because of the blood sacrifice. Now, she has set up the immortal defense array for the blood sacrifice. Don't forget that Sky Patrol City is where the Sword Principal battle will take place. I also participated in the last Sword Principal battle, and I don't know how many human cultivators died near Sky Patrol City. This book Immortal must have set up the immortal defense array to wait for the next Sword Principal battle, waiting for more blood and wandering souls." Huang Tong continued, but what he didn't expect was that before the Sword Principal battle, the Fortune Gate's disciples besieged Sky Patrol City. Then, the Huan country's 3 sword sects and the Heavenly Demon sect's 3 sects came. The Fortune Gate's disciples from the 3 major continents came. The sect chiefs of the 3 major cultivation countries also came with their disciples. A battle comparable to the Sword Principal battle almost broke out. Not to mention, before the battle, there was still an immortal formation to condense the 4 sacred spirit bodies. In that case, Xiaohua thought for a moment, took out the Kunlun mirror, and handed it to Feng Wu. "I'll have to trouble you to take my Fortune Gate's disciples and the other sect's disciples into the Kunlun Wonderland." "No problem." Feng Wu did not dare to delay. She took the Kunlun mirror and agreed. She spread her wings and tore through the void to fly back. But just as she tore through the void, boom boom boom, chains of Xingming rushed out and blocked Feng Wu's demonic body. The chains landed on Feng Wu's demonic body and made a roaring sound. Although the chains broke when Feng Wu flapped her wings and the axe-like Xingming was annihilated, the heavy chains had already sealed the void, and Feng Wu was unable to use the space escape technique. "Damn it." Xiaohua cursed under his breath and hurriedly used the thunder escape technique to fly back. Although Feng Wu and Huang Tong followed behind him, Xiaohua could clearly feel that the space was gradually being confined by the immortal defense array. Haha. Before Xiaohua could fly back to Sky Patrol City, he heard the laughter from before in the surrounding sky again. "Dao Cultivator, you don't have to struggle anymore. When you discovered my tracks, my great array had already been activated. Not to mention you, even a banished immortal would not be able to escape from this great array." Hearing that the great array had already been completed, Xiaohua felt more at ease. He looked coldly at the sky and asked, 81 punishment pillars of Confucian cultivators. What kind of immortal defense array is this?" A surprised sound came from the sky. The book Immortal, who was dressed in pitch-black Confucian robes from before, revealed his distorted figure in the void. He looked at Xiaohua in disbelief and said, You can see the punishment pillars? You also know about the immortal defense array? Who exactly are you? How could anyone on the Dawn Rain continent know about the immortal defense array?" Xiaohua stopped, but Huang Tong and Feng Wu continued to fly forward. Xiaohua said lightly, "You don't know, but that doesn't mean that no one knows. You're just a Confucian cultivator, just a immortal defense array, just a book Immortal of the Heavenly Court. What's so great about that?" Who exactly are you?" The book Immortal was obviously attracted by Xiaohua's words. He ignored the departing Huang Tong and Feng Wu. His huge figure distorted and actually landed in front of Xiaohua. His voice trembled as he asked. Seeing that the book Immortal was a little absent-minded, Xiaohua did not say anything and raised his hand. Shua! A golden light appeared and 2 golden dragons flew out. The dragons immediately imprisoned the space where the Book Immortal was. Moreover, before the Book Immortal could use any magic, the dragon's tails swung and tore through the void, landing on the Book Immortal's body. Wherever the dragon tails passed, not only were the punishment pillars that were tens of miles away from the 2 dragons cut in half, even the huge Book Immortal's figure was chopped down. Seeing that the Book Immortal's figure was chopped down, the black shadows were annihilated and turned into a vast chi. Xiaohua's heart was anxious. His figure shook and he disappeared from the spot. Roar! Sure enough, just as Xiaohua's figure moved away, an angry roar came from another place. Then, a thick punishment pillar appeared out of nowhere like a python dragon and rolled toward Xiaohua's previous location. Although this punishment pillar was not as fast as the soaring dragon scissors, its momentum was more powerful. It covered hundreds of miles. Although Xiaohua had already flown more than 10 miles away, he was still caught by the punishment pillar. Seeing that the axe that could destroy mountains was falling, Xiaohua sneered. Golden light shone from his body and his transcendence golden body was displayed. A hurricane of heaven and earth's spiritual chi was squeezed out from the void. In a moment, it became hundreds of feet large. Boom! Xiaohua threw a punch, but in the roar, the punishment pillar was actually broken and shattered by his punch. This! The Book Immortal exclaimed in surprise. His figure stepped out from the void on the other side of the punishment pillar. It was as if he was walking up a high slope. With every step, the Book Immortal's figure would grow by 3 times. When he was in front of Xiaohua, he had already turned into a subbody that was twice as tall as Xiaohua. Xiaohua was naturally not to be outdone. His figure shook, and his golden body expanded again. It was at least 10,000 feet. Great success. The Book Immortal's eyes were like lightning at this time. He looked at Xiaohua and said, "Who are you? How do you know the secret of my heavenly court?" Xiaohua smiled and said, "At this time, what are you still doubting? The most impossible thing in your heart, isn't it the truth?" Impossible. The Book Immortal shook his head and said, "This old man has already investigated the Dawn Rain continent. There is no immortal in this mortal world." However, just as the Book Immortal said this, he laughed involuntarily. He raised his hand and pointed at Xiaohua and said with a smile, "This old man understands. You are not a cultivator of the Dawn Rain continent. You are from other realms." Unfortunately, before he finished speaking, the Book Immortal's face suddenly showed surprise. He raised his eyes and looked into the distance. He said curiously, "Kunlun Mirror? You actually have the ancient magic weapon Kunlun Mirror?" After he finished speaking, the Book Immortal's body glowed with a faint golden light. As the golden light appeared, countless noble spirit flew out of the void and entered his body. As the noble spirit poured in, the Book Immortal's original Confucian robe slowly changed, revealing an armor. Moreover, the Xingming chain that was swimming around the 2 of them also made a metallic sound. The Book Immortal growled and said with a somewhat ferocious expression, "Your Taoist cultivation has reached the Mahayana level. You want to save people in my torture array? You're too naive, aren't you?" While speaking, the Book Immortal waved his fists. His body was like lightning, and his fists were like stars, smashing toward Xiaohua. Seeing the Book Immortal's body swaying like a mountain whistling and the sky collapsing, Xiaohua's blood gushed out from the bottom of his heart. He also waved his fists and met the Book Immortal's attack. He said loudly, "Okay, I will see how powerful the Book Immortal of the Heavenly Court is. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, reward, and thank you for all kinds of support. Thanks to Benbin, Xiaohua, Dongfang Yushan, Honghua, Chenfangoyang, Wuqing, Alun, Jeshin, Li Shao 777, Little Duan Demonic Flower, Taoist Xiao, Little Jianjian, The Blue Sky 1, Kai Gue Hun, Favorite Tanhua, Loyal Fan of Divine Cultivation, Guff 8547985, and other rewards. Today's update ends, please wait for tomorrow's update. Chapter 5198. Feng Wu took the Kunlun mirror and flew over the punishment formation with Huang Tong accompanying her. She saw that the entire punishment formation was filled with chains of punishment. These chains looked a little different from the chains of inscriptions. The chains of inscriptions were filled with rules and imperial power. Everywhere they went, everything surrendered. On the other hand, Xingming's chains were filled with the aura of punishment and the intent of annihilation. Everywhere they passed, all living beings would be killed mercilessly. Huang Tong and Feng Wu flew in and felt a great obstruction, making it difficult for them to use their divine abilities. With Feng Wu and Huang Tong like this, the Fortune Gate disciples, Sky Patrol City Sword cultivators, and cultivators found it even more difficult to cultivate. When Feng Wu flew near the Sky Patrol City, the inscription chains had already drowned all the cultivators like a wave. Regardless of whether they were Dao Gate cultivators or sword cultivators, they all formed a battle formation again. Under the command of their leader, they circulated their magic power and sword energy to resist the inscription chains. Feng Wu scanned the area with his origin sense and saw Fairy Hongxia, Wuqing, and the others standing within the group of Fortune Gate disciples under the protection of Yuan Ya and the Black Bear Spirit. At this time, the power of Xingming's chain was still weak. Not to mention Yuan Ya's Devil Spear, even the Fortune Gate disciples could easily block it. On the other hand, the Black Bear Spirit loyally protected Fairy Hongxia, Huang Mengxiang, and the others. He did not block the inscription chains. However, Feng Wu did not dare to hesitate. He flew above everyone and activated the Kunlun mirror in his hand. He shouted, "Fortune Gate disciples, listen to my command, ha!" Before Feng Wu could finish, there was another wild laugh. In the void near the sword gourd, another book Immortal stepped out. He looked at the Kunlun mirror in Feng Wu's hand and laughed. This old man's luck is really good. Although I can't get the spirit-punishing vital light now, if I can get the Kunlun mirror, wouldn't it be more useful than the spirit-punishing vital light? As he spoke, the book Immortal raised his hand. Tens of thousands of inscription chains turned into a huge hand, making a kacha-kacha sound as they grabbed at Feng Wu. Although the huge hand did not have much binding power, the inscription chains around Feng Wu surged like waves. Feng Wu did not dare to delay and hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Taoist, come and help me." "I'm coming." Huang Tong shouted loudly and flapped her wings. Endless space power turned into a gust of wind. Her sharp claws reached into the void. Not only did it shatter Xingming's chains, but it also reached out from the void and landed on the book Immortal's heart. Rumble! Where Huang Tong's wings landed, they collided with the book Immortal's hand. Thousands of chains were broken, and the nearby space almost collapsed. Pooh! Just as Huang Tong's claws were about to strike, the book Immortal waved his sleeves. Countless chains formed a wall in front of the book Immortal, but this seemingly indestructible wall was shattered by Huang Tong's claws. A great saint of the demon race? The book Immortal was clearly somewhat astonished, and asked curiously, Daybreak Continent's Dao cultivators originally didn't even have Tribulation Transcendence cultivators. How come there are so many Supreme Stage experts now? There are many things you don't know. Huang Tong did not care about the book Immortal's words. She laughed coldly and said, "You just have to hand over your life." With that, Huang Tong flapped her wings again. A powerful gust of wind rushed into the sky, messing up the broken chains. Within the gust of wind, hundreds of phantoms of phoenix claws, which could split rocks and pierce clouds, shot towards the book Immortal like arrows. Seeing Huang Tong steal the limelight, the book Immortal's face grew cautious. He raised his hands slightly, and the right hand that was hidden in his robes rose. A flute-like object appeared. The book Immortal placed the flute by his mouth and blew gently. A pleasant sound came from the flute. This sound fell into the air, and the Xingming's chains that were shattered by Huang Tong quickly condensed. In the blink of an eye, these Xingming's chains turned into 5 different-sized generals. They danced strangely and flew towards Huang Tong. The strangest thing was that when the 5 generals flew, not only did they produce a pleasant melody, but their flight path was also in sync with the melody. It looked very magical, blocking Huang Tong from all directions. Facing the siege of the 5 generals, Huang Tong, who was proficient in the power of the soul, could not help but be shocked. His blood rushed up. When his sharp claws reached down and crushed one of the generals, his body trembled. An indescribable melody appeared in his mind. He almost cried out in surprise, This is the 5 laws of Confucianism. Gong Shang Jiao Jiu? Not bad, not bad. The book Immortal heard and clapped. We Confucianism have a saying, playing the lute to a cow. I really did not expect that a demon saint from the mortal world would know the sound attack of us Confucianism. As he spoke, a few more melodious melodies sounded. Another 5 generals that were born from the 5 laws of Gong Shang Jiao Jiu appeared and surrounded Huang Tong. Damn it! Huang Tong's sharp claws crushed a few more generals. However, the strange melody pierced into his mind. Even if he activated his supernatural powers, he could not block it. Huang Tong frowned slightly and thought for a while. He opened his mouth and said, Fellow Taoist, help me. The book Immortal was stunned. He turned to look at Feng Wu, who was flying towards Fairy Hongxia. However, Feng Wu did not turn around at all. Instead, she was on the left side of the book Immortal, where Xiao Hua and the book Immortal were fighting. Rumble! A dark green lightning flashed and Taoist which flew out of space. Before his body that resembled a witch god could get close, he heard the chanting of ghosts and spirits. Green seal text the size of a fist appeared out of thin air. The moment the green seal text appeared, the 5 generals formed by the 5 laws collapsed. The melodious rhythm disappeared and the space around him was filled with the sound of green seal text. The book Immortal looked as if he had seen a ghost. He looked at Taoist which in disbelief. He raised his hand and said, You what? Give me your life. Huang Tong saw that there was an opportunity. He roared and pounced forward. His sharp claws tore through the space and grabbed at the book Immortal. Seeing that the space around the book Immortal was collapsing and the book Immortal's body was distorting, another cold snort was heard. Demons are indeed barbarians. Don't they know that they are outnumbered? Following this sound, there was the sound of a bowstring being released. So, a murderous aura suddenly appeared out of thin air. Huang Tong was so frightened that her body trembled. She opened her mouth. Woo-woo. Dozens of demonic auras spewed out and condensed into clouds. Then, a black arrow flew out with a dark light. Within the dark light, there was a dark yellow inscription on the armor. Puff, puff, puff. The flying arrow pierced through several demonic clouds. Every time it pierced through a demonic cloud, some of the dark yellow flames would be extinguished. In the end, the flying arrow was weakened, and the dark yellow inscriptions on the armor had completely disappeared. Gee! Huang Tong laughed coldly. Just as he was about to speak, the inscriptions on the arrow disappeared and revealed the color of a white bone. At the same time, there was the roar of a wandering soul. The bone arrow pierced through the air again. Huang Tong was shocked. He quickly shouted, Damn it, I forgot that you are a demonic book Immortal. Seeing the bone arrow close in, Huang Tong quickly opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of demonic energy. This demonic energy was different from before. When it landed on the bone arrow, it was like boiling water had been poured onto snow. Shwa! The screams of the wandering souls immediately disappeared and the power of the bone arrow disappeared. It flew a few dozen feet before turning into pieces of Xing Ming's chain and falling into the air. You don't cultivate the power of the moon and the stars? Along with this strange voice, another book Immortal appeared from the void at the place where the arrow was shot out from. However, this book Immortal was dressed differently from the other book Immortals. He wore an archery outfit with a quiver at his waist and a bow in his hand. This book Immortal looked at Huang Tong in disbelief. 6 arts. Seeing the book Immortal next to him holding a flute and the book Immortal in front of him holding a bow, Huang Tong suddenly realized. He whispered, Could it be that you are the book Immortal's 6 arts incarnations? Since they were incarnations of the 6 arts, there were naturally 6 of them. Huang Tong quickly released his essence to look at Feng Wu. As expected, a book Immortal on a horse had blocked Feng Wu. Who cares about the 6 arts and 5 laws? Taoist which didn't have much of an expression on his face. he said coldly and waved his hand. The subbrush appeared in his hand and a ray of emerald light appeared at the tip of the brush. The pure power of life pointed between the brows of the book Immortal holding the flute. The book Immortal holding the flute saw the subbrush passing by. Whether it was the void or the Xingming chains, there were faint green sprouts. A power of life that could destroy the devil chi in his body covered him. The book Immortal was even more frightened. He didn't have time to play the flute and could only wave it to defend himself. Amidst the shrill sounds, hundreds and thousands of generals flew out. They all wielded their spears and swords to fight. At this moment, Taoist, which was much more powerful than before. The continuous use of the Nirvana realm and soul bridge and the resurrection of Ziyi and Wuxia allowed Taoist which to understand the profound meaning of life and death. Now that he was facing the book Immortal's 6 arts incarnations, Taoist witch's subbrush had already pointed at the life and death within 100 miles. In the wisps of emerald light, life and death were revealed. Taoist, which seemed to have thousands of incarnations, controlling the life and death within 100 miles. In Taoist witch's eyes, other than the laws of heaven and earth and the rules of the book Immortal's punishment array, there were also the Xingming chains that formed a human shape according to the rhythm. At this moment, the Xingming chains formed a human shape. However, this human shape didn't have a soul and didn't care about life and death. Therefore, even though the subbrush wasn't big, it was 100 times more ferocious than the hand of heaven and earth. It killed all the generals of the 5 laws within 100 miles. Moreover, in a split second, the subbrush landed between the book Immortal's brows. You can. Thank you to Sleepy McDull, Shrimp Adds Fire, Brick Moving Master, Yang Chenwei, 375,665, Book of Flight, Good Account, Chuan Tong, Chief of Dongshan Village, Love Coming in 3rd place, Taoist Xiao, and other fellow Taoists in the book review section. There are always some omissions, please forgive me. Chapter 5199. Pa. A faint green light appeared on the book Immortal's forehead. Then, an indescribable horror appeared in the book Immortal's eyes. He couldn't help but raise his flute and exclaim, "The forbidden body is indeed amazing." As soon as he said that, a green light shot up to the sky from the book Immortal's forehead. The book Immortal's body cracked in the green light. The fragments of the body were twisted into pieces by the power of life. However, at the moment when everything was annihilated, Taoist which saw it clearly again. A wisp of true qi mixed with blood patterns quietly disappeared into the void. Even Yabai's power of life couldn't kill it. Taoist which looked at the disappearing true qi and exclaimed, This doesn't seem to be the 6 arts avatars. This true qi contains a strong power of life. This is the 5 qi in the chest that the book Immortal cultivates." When Taoist which realized this, Xiaohua was fighting with the book Immortal who appeared first. The book Immortal was dressed as a warrior. After he couldn't defeat Xiaohua with his bare hands, he took out a battle axe. The battle axe didn't look like a real immortal imperial weapon. It was just condensed by the Xingming chains. However, the battle axe was much more powerful than a normal spiritual weapon in the punishment array. Xiaohua used the soaring dragon scissors several times. He could cut the battle axe in half or cut the book Immortal in half. However, the moment the soaring dragon scissors left, both the battle axe and the book Immortal recovered. Even if Xiaohua activated his magical power to seal the nearby space, he couldn't stop the noble qi from seeping in. When Xiaohua heard Taoist witch's exclamation, he immediately realized what was going on. He laughed and waved his hands. Kacha! Several thunderous sounds were heard. A 3-colored thunderous hand covered the book Immortal out of thin air. Under the thunderous hand, the power of life and death created an illusion of reincarnation. The book Immortal was shocked and exclaimed, "This is the Tao of life and death? You're just a Mahayana Tao cultivator. How can you control it?" The power of life and death fell. The space within hundreds of miles was bleak and silent. The Xingming chains faded and broke into colorless inscriptions. At the same time, the book Immortal's body also cracked and faded. In the end, the inscriptions on the armor turned into scattered strokes, no longer as sharp as before. Where do you think you're going? Xiao Hua opened his mouth, and a golden thunderbolt struck the spot where the void was shattered. There, a blood-patterned true qi that was exactly the same as what Taoist which saw was quietly hiding in the void. However, before the thunderbolt fell, the blood-colored real qi shook strangely and suddenly disappeared. Just like when Xiao Hua discovered the abnormality earlier. Damn it. How could Xiao Hua not know that this was the result of the punishment array? He hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Taoist Wu is right. This is one of the 5 qi that the book Immortal cultivates. In this punishment array, although the 5 qi can't be invincible, it's indestructible. We can destroy its form for a while, but as long as the true qi is not destroyed, we can never get out of the array." Feng Wu was already furious when he was blocked by the book Immortal on horseback. He abandoned the Kunlun mirror and flapped his wings. The power of the stars and the moon surged out like a tide, turning into hundreds of stars and attacking the book Immortal. The book Immortal used the power of the punishment array to resist the impact of the stars, but the seemingly endless stars made him unable to fight back. Seeing that the 5 qi clones were destroyed by Taoist Witch and Xiao Hua, the book Immortal roared, "Why don't you come out and help me?" Feng Wu was taken aback and hurriedly looked to the left. Unfortunately, the shielding of this punishment formation was too powerful. Just as Feng Wu was about to find nothing, the sound of a sword rang out and a shocking sword light rushed out from behind him. It turned into a waterfall and fell on Feng Wu. Before the sword light fell, Feng Wu already felt a chill in his monster body. A tearing pain came from the surface of his body. "So what if I can't be destroyed?" Feng Wu roared and flapped his right wing. Buzz buzz buzz. The void trembled. After the chains of punishment surged out, the power of the stars and the moon turned into the shape of stars and went to meet the sword light. Boom boom boom. The sword light broke through the void and fell into the river of stars. Under the sword light, the stars were shattered one by one, and the space within 100 miles was torn into chaos. Behind Feng Wu, the book Immortal on horseback roared. The horse under him suddenly expanded, and the book Immortal's body merged into the horse, turning into a figure with the head of a human and the body of a horse. As soon as the figure appeared in the form of a beast cultivator, buzz, the void on the left began to distort. The figure raised its 4 hooves and suddenly passed through the power of the stars and the moon that was attacking him. It approached Feng Wu's back. The 4 hooves that were raised were covered with blood patterns and black gas as it stomped on Feng Wu. Feng Wu didn't expect the book Immortal to be able to rush through the river of stars after transforming into the form of a human and the book Immortal. Obviously, he was caught off guard. He flapped his left wing and a shadow appeared, trying to block the horse's hooves. However, under the horse's hooves, mountains and rivers were about to shatter. Feng Wu's shadow couldn't last long. In just a moment, the shadow turned into fragments of the power of the stars and the moon and was annihilated. "Don't hurt my 5th brother. I'm coming." At this moment, the Thunder Immortal's thunderous voice sounded. A flash of lightning suddenly rushed out from the distance like a sword and stabbed straight at the book Immortal's back. The book Immortal was stunned on the spot when he saw another human Mahayana flying out. How is this possible? Normally, the Dawn Rain continent doesn't even have one tribulation transcendence. Where did so many supreme beings come from today? What scared the book Immortal the most was that except for Xiao Hua, Feng Wu, and Huang Tong, these supreme beings were already in the punishment array. He didn't know where Taoist Sorcerer and the Thunder Immortal broke in from. Kunlun Mirror. The book Immortal turned his eyes and looked at Feng Wu. However, the Thunder Immortal's sword of lightning arrived first and approached the book Immortal in a few breaths. Damn it. The book Immortal was surprised again and thought to himself, "Is this my punishment array or your family's punishment array?" However, when the book Immortal identified the rich power of life and death in the sword of lightning, he instantly understood something. Therefore, he simply ignored the Thunder Immortal and continued to stomp his horse's hooves. Boom. Almost at the same time, the book Immortal's front hooves broke the shadow of Feng Wu's left wing and firmly stepped on Feng Wu's back. Under the front hooves, the space was torn apart and layers of awe-inspiring qi poured down. On Feng Wu's back, the brilliance of the stars and the moon shone brilliantly, but it was annihilated in a moment. Feng Wu roared and her huge monster body fell to the ground. Boom! Another loud sound was heard and more chains rushed out from the ground and bound Feng Wu's monster body. Of course, at the same time when Feng Wu fell, the Thunder Immortal's sword of lightning pierced deeply into the Book Immortal's body. In the roar, the power of life and death revealed a black and white vortex and destroyed the Book Immortal's body. Just as the Thunder Immortal expected, the wisp of true qi also disappeared strangely. The Thunder Immortal turned his eyes and looked at the sword light that cut Feng Wu's river of stars in half. A Book Immortal in a sword suit appeared, flashing with soaring sword intent. "How dare you brandish your sword in front of me? You must be tired of living." The Thunder Immortal shouted proudly, "Even if you are a Book Immortal of the Heavenly Court, I will still kill you here." After saying that, the Thunder Immortal's body emitted the sound of thunder. Countless thunderbolts turned into sword light and poured down like a waterfall. In just a moment, the Thunder Immortal's body turned into a huge sword, and the thunderbolts were engraved on the huge sword like blooming spring flowers. Boom! The Sword Immortal was still in a daze as he raised his lightning sword. The sword intent was so ferocious that it overpowered the chains of the punishment formation. Not only did the chains within a radius of 100 miles split in half, but even the Sword Immortal's body was bent under the pressure of the sword intent. Clang! The Book Immortal in a sword suit was like a proud bamboo that would rather break than bend. He bent his waist for a moment, and then the sound of his sword rang out. A dazzling golden light rushed out from the pitch-black sword suit, and the Book Immortal also turned into a huge sword that was thousands of feet long. It tore through the sky and slashed toward the Thunder Immortal. Ka. When the two giant swords collided, black and white light frantically gushed out from the point of contact. Then, the dazzling golden sword light collapsed like bamboo, one segment after another, one segment after another. When the golden light turned into nothingness, the Thunderbolt Immortal arrogantly revealed himself from the lightning. He coldly looked in a certain direction and indifferently said, "I knew you were going to run." Along with this voice, several tiny thunderbolts surged out and pounced into the void in the distance. "It's useless." Xiaohua's voice rang out. This so-called punishment array has already become a nearly independent space. The laws here have already changed somewhat. Although these changes are very slight, they are still changes. They are not something we can achieve. Although we destroyed the Book Immortal's 5 avatars, he is an almost indestructible existence in this punishment array. If we don't break this punishment array, not waiting for Xiaohua to finish, boom, boom, boom. Earth-shaking rumbles once again resounded in the distance. The pillars that propped up heaven and earth once again grew in size. After a total of 81 chimes, the sound of chanting, the ear-piercing sound of horse hooves, and the blood-boiling sound of drums gradually resounded from the distance. Following the destruction of the 5 Qi avatars, the engraving chains, which had gradually weakened, once again grew in size. Xiaohua didn't feel it before, but now he heard it clearly. The Fortune Gate's disciples, sword cultivators, and heavenly demon sect's disciples on the Dawn Rain continent had begun to fall. The axe-like punishment chains ruthlessly swept through the space and landed on their bodies. Their weak true qi couldn't withstand it at all. Amidst a bloody mess, cold corpses fell on the snowy plains. Miserable screams came one after another. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, gift, and thank you for all kinds of support. Thank you to Sleepy McDull, Shrimp at Fire, Brick Moving Master, Yang Chenwei, 375665, Book of Flight, Good Account, Chuan Tong, Dongshan Village's Head, Love Coming Third, Taoist Xiao, and other fellow Taoists in the book review section. There will always be some omissions, please forgive me.